The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Pit Life BBQ podcast. Join us around the pit as we talk all things barbecue. Now here is your host, Johnnie Mags.
What's up, everybody? Coming to you live from the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe in Salem, New Hampshire. Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Life BBQ podcast.
Welcome.
What's up, Chrissy?
Hey, Johnny. How we doing?
We're doing good. I'm excited. This is going to be great.
Sure is.
So, why don't we just get right down to it?
Oh, you wanna? Wait.
I'm in. Just don't tell Mrs. Mags.
I say, wait a minute. What did we just... All right. Now I'm blushing. No. Today's show brought to you by the number one best tasting shake on the planet, Uncle Steve's Shake. Uncle Steve's Shake is handmade, hand-measured, hand-mixed, and hand-packaged. Uncle Steve's Shake is made with the finest of ingredients and comes in how many now? 15 amazing flavors, including the newest additions, the CJ's West Coast Shake, the Texas Cajun, and the brand new All-American SPG, which is no sugar, no MSG, vegan, and keto friendly. So if you care about all those things, that's the one for you. That's the new All-American SPG shake. Also, don't forget the Uncle Steve's sauce with no name, my personal favorite. No matter what you're eating, Uncle Steve has a shake for it. If you have any questions, Uncle Steve has great customer service to help you with all your shake needs. Go to UncleSteve'sShake.com to order your shakes today. Also on the website, you're going to find some awesome shake tips and recipes. You're going to be amazed at just how versatile these shakes are, folks. And while you're online, head on over to Facebook and join Uncle Steve's Shake Nation to stay up to date with all the latest creations made using Uncle Steve's Shake, and maybe even share some of your own. It's time to step up your backyard barbecue, people, and your competition barbecue game with Uncle Steve's Shake. Shake some on everything.
Today also brought to you by Two Guys Smoke Shop and TwoGuysCigars.com. Whether I'm barbecuing or not, I always keep the smoke rolling. Thanks to my friends at TwoGuysCigars.com. Today I am smoking the United Cigars Abuelo. Thanks to my friends at TwoGuysCigars.com, I get to smoke some of the best cigars in the world, and so can you. Just visit TwoGuysCigars.com for your perfect barbecue companion. That's the number 2GuyCigars.com.
Today's show also brought to you by Magna Chef Gloves. Whether you're the family grill master or a professional pit master, quality tools are going to make it easier for you to be your best on that grill. Longtime firefighter and founder of Magna Chef, Al Infante knows a thing or two about fire management. He designed the Magna Chef gloves and the Freedom Barbecue gloves for you to get in and out of fast. With the magnetic swivel plates, you can easily slip in and out of these gloves. They're going to keep your hands cool and allow you to cook and grill safely. No more getting stuck in hot gloves. Depending on your glove preference, Magna Chef offers two fantastic options. The first is the classic Magna Chef barbecue glove, made of food-grade silicone, web fit for firmer grip, dishwasher safe, one size fits all, heat rated up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, and comes in 5 awesome colors. And they also have their second option, the Freedom Barbecue Gloves, which has a more traditional 5-finger, flexible and pliable grip, a 14-inch long cuff to protect your forearms, made of heat-resistant neoprene, heat rated up to 932 degrees Fahrenheit. These gloves are going to help extend your time over that fire. Both styles of the Magna Chef gloves are great for barbecue and kitchen use. Head on over to magnachef.com today. That's MAGNE chef.com. Order yourself a pair of each today. And at the checkout, make sure you use the promo code FREEDOMLIVES for 10% off your order. Magna Chef gloves, master the fire. Freedom Barbecue gloves, take a stand, free your hand.
Also brought to you by CustomCuttingBoardsRUs.com. Brother Ian Hemming is out of Magnolia, Texas, is creating what I call the Yeti of cutting boards. These boards take an absolute beating. Anything you can throw up, these boards can handle it, from their dishwasher boards or your standard countertop board to the absolutely massive 18 by 36-inch brisket board. And for all the pizza lovers out there, he's got you covered too with the pizza board for that perfect even slice every time. Check them out at CustomCuttingBoardsRUs.com. The deep lip reservoir to catch all the jus coming from the proteins you're cooking. the rubber nubs on the bottom. Even on a wet surface, these boards will not slide on you. Multicolors available, personal engraving available. Like I said, check them out. CustomCuttingBoardsRUs.com. That's the letter R, us.com. Daddy Dutch, what's up? Matt Pereira, Chris Rosinski, Heidi, C-Mac, Tim Rogers, Andrew Simpson, what's up? Chapin, my man. What is good? Big Rome, what's happening? Heath, what's going on? I'm excited about today, so let's get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us from Midland, Texas, the owner and proprietor of Texas Oil Dust, Mr. Aaron Lesley.
What's up, bitches?
There it is. I was hoping. Daddy Dutch was hoping too. He goes, AA Ron.
Daddy Dutch, boy, he's the first time in there, boy. He don't fuck around. He gets in there.
Oh, yeah. First comment, AA Ron. What's up, bitches?
Hey, Ron. What's up, bitches?
Oh, Ryan Cooper, what's up? John Long. So, Aaron, thank you, man. Appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to me today. This is going to be good.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me, man. It's kind of cool. I've been kind of an experience that I've been wanting to get on for a while. I just never got a phone call.
Oh, you've been on the list, man. Whenever I see the little gold nugget pop up watching, it's like, oh, no shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron's in there. All right.
Yeah,
so
I come in.
Let's get right into it. How about, everybody, who you are, how you got your start. It's real interesting on the culinary side, different schooling and things. So take it from there and we'll roll.
I've always loved food. Big boys, the best way to a big man's heart is through his belly, right? So, mom and dad and my grandparents, they're just great cooks, Southern comfort food. I think kind of through my growing up experience, we always had, chocolate pies, coconut pies, and chicken fried steak and turkeys and hams and things that just made us, all of us guys just kind of just salivate over stuff. So when I was in high school, I wanted to, I changed my career kind of setting wise to where I enjoyed food so much. I started cooking at the high school in the I guess the home ec class, so they kind of opened up a deal. So instead of me sewing MC Hammer pants and making curtains and dishwash cloths and towels or whatever it is they were making, pillowcases or something, I was back in the back cooking up French cuisines one week and American foods the next week and Italian, and I was doing different things all the time. So I tried to go to culinary school out of high school, but for a single mom, culinary school is expensive. So I opted out of that and did a business class, and I went to veterinary school for about 3 years. But I never did stop the love for food. So I started probably doing barbecue with the family and rodeo events and stuff like that. Through my college years, and then as we kind of moved on, and over time, I kind of just kept doing it in the backyard. And I worked in the oil field for about 24 years. So we come home on days off, we kept the barbecue pits rolling, all the free food, all the steaks and briskets and ribs they were bringing us out in the oil field, out to the drilling rigs, and we'd go home and I cooked those up on my week off, and everybody knew was going to light the pit up, and so I kind of advanced that a little bit further. Back in 2012, a catering job fell in my lap, and I took it. The company liked it so much, I was doing it. And I went from, probably one drilling rig, 30 ribeyes a week, to about 500 within about 4 weeks. I was doing 500 ribeyes and just on-site location cooking, So that kind of spawned my oil dust, and I've just been cooking ever since, learning my craft, trying to treat it up, trying to make it better, trying to add that splash and that flavor and that little flair that everybody's looking for to make themselves stand out just a little bit more. So we've been cooking now since 2012 on the catering side. We're at 11 years, I guess, doing this. And then I've been full-time restaurant since 2018. So Always trying to perfect the craft at the same time, still compete and still push the oil dust and still push the company itself and getting our products out there. Man, I just anything I do with cooking and competitions and it doesn't have to be barbecue. It can be burgers and seafood and soups, and I enjoy the whole timeline aspect of Fast and Furious. So that's kind of my life in a nutshell. 7 days a week. That's what we do.
Nice. Yeah, I was listening to a couple shows with you, and it was funny how you said you went from 20 ribeyes for the guys on the crew to within the month 500, which, what's the saying? Things are born out of necessity. And
I mean, you do make things out of necessity. You have to have something. You don't want to afford to buy it, and that's where my oil dust came from. I was going to HEB, which our grocery stores here in Texas. I think I was buying 2 bottles a day. So your average price back then was probably $6 to $7, maybe $5 to $7 a bottle for a 12 or 14 ounce bottle. I think I was buying. I tried them all too. I mean, I just buy a different one and we try it. So I was probably spending $12, $14 a day on seasonings for steaks. And then about 3 months later, I was like, this is stupid. Why do I want to keep buying somebody else's seasoning when I can just make my own? So we did some tweaking and kind of threw some stuff in a gallon pickle jar and shook it all up. And it took about 3 months, and the oil dust is what we come up with. And we've been using it on steaks and hush puppies, catfish, chicken fried steak, you name it. We've been using it as an all-purpose rub ever since then.
Nice. Judge, what's happening? Robert, what's going on? There's our boy, Aaron. Mr. Rob Arosha.
Oh, shit. Oh, Robbie Dog.
That's
Shorty Shorts.
Of the So Smoking Gooder Show.
So Smoking Gooder Show.
Nice. Thanks for tuning
That's
in.
the boy right there.
Mad Max, what's happening? Tom and Bell Clark. What's happening, guys?
Holy shit.
Oh, we got some heavy hitters coming out for you, brother.
You're naming some people off here. I'm thinking, damn, I thought we was just going to have a little 4 o'clock get together. Here we got all kinds of folks on there.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that, Rob. Daddy Dutch beat you in the show, man.
He's always the first. We'll go with Daddy Dutch right now. Aaron, who is Aaron's biggest competition in barbecue? So I guess yourself.
I am. I'm my biggest competition. I will make and break myself faster than I can win, and I can repeat it. So you are your biggest competition, and I don't have a competition ally you could use like Rob, for instance, or Tom and Bell Clark. You could say they are my competition, but they're not my biggest competition. My biggest competition is me. You can get inside your head so fast and screw up a cook faster than anybody on that location can.
Oh, funny you say that, because I bit myself in the ass the other weekend. Whoa, forgot to burp the coolers a little bit, and they just kept on cooking. It's like, God damn it.
Timed a little, did they?
Yeah, you know.
I mean, you'll sit there and you'll be like, you know what? It just tastes good, but man, I just want a little bit more. Next thing you know, you've added so much other shit to it that that first place trophy went way out the window, and you're 55 out of 56. So,
yeah.
I mean, you're your biggest competition, and I am my biggest competition. I tell everybody that. There's not a restaurant in the restaurant side of things. They're like, well, who's your biggest competition in town? Well, I am. I'm my biggest competition. I'm all the time trying to make things better, but I can also make things worse.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Mr. Clarence Joseph, what's up, brother?
Holy shit, CJ's on here.
Hell yeah,
That's
man.
my man right there. He is one of my Mount Rushmores. If you were to go to Rob's show, CJ's got a special place in my heart.
Yeah, CJ's great. I had the opportunity to meet CJ and Miss Alicia and a bunch of the Texas boys when I came down to pick up my pit in Austin last October. So it was great. It was awesome. So you were talking with the school, and schooling and getting involved. Now, you're involved with some of the high school competition teams, correct?
That's right.
What's it like?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, these kids, they just want to cook. They're not some of so a lot of the kids that are doing the high school barbecue team are usually always in FFA. So not all kids are doing FFA, but I'm going to say probably 75% of the kids are probably doing FFA. So usually your ag teacher or your maybe your shop teacher or something like that, they might be doing the teaching program of the high school kids. So, a lot of these kids are trying to feed lambs, they're trying to show steers, but at the same time, they're getting up there at 6:30 in the morning, they're lighting the pits or practicing on a Wednesday. So I have one school here in Midland that I help out that practice on Wednesdays. So that team gets there at 6:30, they fire up 4 drums. They have 9 drums, so there's 3 teams. And so they fire up their drums for how many kids show up, and then they will practice thighs, they'll practice half chicken, they'll practice brisket, pork butt, whatever. And as those kids inject it, season it, throw it on the smoker, they leave and go to class. The kids that are off the first period come back in and they finish the process and wrap it. And then the kids that are on the second period, they come in. So they have a rotation schedule. And so each kid does they've finished something, and that's how they practice their routines.
Oh,
and then
that's
some of my students, they just have one day a week that they get together and they just cook in the afternoon after school. So everybody has their own set schedule, but these kids are just wanting to learn how to trim a chicken or how to trim a brisket. They don't do a great job, and they're not doing like a professional, very, very elite, very aerodynamic brisket, but it serves the purpose. And they still have a certain amount of time to cook it because you can't get their meats until 6 a.m. So, they can't take their meats and pre-trim it. They have to do everything right there on site.
Yeah.
So the kids are just thirst for knowledge, and they want to pay attention, but they're kids. They still have life in the way. They've got Facebook and they've got Snapchat or whatever it is they do. And, so those guys are kind of constantly busy on social media, but they're also trying to learn and do the stuff in the class. And so one of my schools right now, both teams are qualified for the championships already. And then the one here in town, they're working on their second one as well. So we should have both of them in the finals, when it comes to the end of the year.
Nice. El Jefe Smoke, what's happening? Corey Simpkins, what's up, Mr. Lesley?
Corby, boy. What, he's a tough one when he gets out there and does it. He's got a good recipe. He's got a good following there.
Yeah. But it was very interesting when you said that the biggest competitor is yourself. You can get in your head really quick, and that's probably the best answer I've ever gotten off of that one. So that's great. And back to the kids, where the hell was all this stuff when we were growing up?
I would have loved it because I would not. I can't say that. I would have still been drinking beer. I still would have been driving without a license. I still would have done all those things, but. If you'd have had something like that when we were younger, I think the decisions and choices that we made, we might not have gotten us as much trouble.
Yeah.
Because it would have been fun to do if you were in that kind of environment already. So yeah, I wish they would have had that growing up. It would have made my life a little bit more fun because of me trying to cook at school. I would have had a barbecue team to go to instead.
Yeah, 100%. The old, if I knew that now, if I knew then what I know now, it would have been, I got into the barbecue game later, but would I have, if it was available, would I have got into it? I don't know. I'd like to
barbecue
think,
that big of a deal back then. I was in school 30 years ago. I graduated in 95, so almost 30. So, was barbecue a big thing back then? I don't know because I didn't follow. I was a kid. I didn't follow barbecue back then. I know it was going on. Trig was hot and the Wades were going on. This is Texas, guys. A lot of people were doing it, but was barbecue a big enough sport back then that the high school kids would have had a good time doing it?
Yeah. It wasn't. It surely wasn't up here in the Northeast. It was. Hell, half the people still consider burgers and dogs barbecue. Little do they know. But when did the competition aspect come into everything?
I think I was a company man on a drilling rig back then, and my brother-in-law said, "Hey, my wife and them were in town. They said, we're at this barbecue competition here in town. It's a Lone Star for us, one of the alphabet logos. But so I went by there. My brother said, hey, man, we got done. And man, I got first place chicken, got $1,000 first place chicken. I was like, they paid you $1,000 and you got a first place chicken? I said, dang, that's good money. He goes, oh, man, it doesn't always happen. So fast forward 2 or 3 months. It's hotter than hell out here. We're doing our thing. And then he goes and gets a first place rib, and it's like $800. And I was like, man, so you only see a number, right? You see a piece of meat, 1/2 chicken or ribs, and you see this number. It's $800 here, $1,000 there. So that's pretty cool. He goes, you want to build a pit and come cook with us. So I only had a week off. I worked 2 weeks on, 14 days on, 7 days off. And so I just built a shop and I put me a pit together. And so I decked it all out, got all nice and stuff. For the family in 13, we would just get together once or twice a year and the whole family would come out to a cook-off and we would just cook. I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I was adjusting the damper on the firebox. I was cranking the smokestack and I was looking at the gauge and it was getting 5 degrees. Boom, I'm adjusting something all night long. I did this and I just wearing myself out. But I had no idea what I was doing because that's what I see everybody else rolling with. So you fast forward a little bit to where we did 1 or 2 a year, the family get together. It was a great time, concerts, that kind of stuff, just little small cook-offs. It wasn't nothing special. So in 15, I was kind of like, this is kind of fun, so I'd like to do it for you. And there was a few more in Midland, my hometown here. And so I probably did like 8 in 15 on my weekends off. And the price of oil was down, so it wasn't like we could really afford, to do a whole lot, but I made good money. So we would travel out of town. We go do one here, go on a family vacation, do a competition. So, and I told my wife in probably the last part of 15, I said, this is pretty expensive. We're spending $1,000, $1,500 every weekend to go with the family and, drag the kids around. I said, so if I want to do this, I better get serious about it. I'm going to find a class or something can kind of give me a heads up. And I took a little DVD class online and matter of fact, I took Cosmo's DVD class. He had a 4 DVD set for $99.99. And I bought it. I bought all the stuff to go with it. And I just listened to it. I had my laptop in my truck, and I got my first reserve grand that following weekend by watching those DVDs, and just gave me an idea of when to wrap, how to wrap, what to put in a wrap, and season and brines and injections. And I was like, man, this is crazy. So over time, it paid off, it paid itself off. And I got hooked in 16 when I started getting those reserves and those grands and then, getting those top finishes. So 2015 was a fun year because I was just doing stuff with the family, but 16, we got serious about it.
Nice. Now, I'm following you, for a while on social media, and every weekend, there's pictures of that from whatever cook-off, and, there's quite a bit of hardware getting brought up. What is your favorite win, or which grand championship, or even not even necessarily a grand championship? Which competition or win is closest to your heart? If you could pick one.
Man, if you can just pick one, let's see. I'll tell you, I won a cook-off here in town. This is just one that stands out because it was a unique trophy for me. And I won this. It was 78 teams. It was my first state championship to ever win. And so it was here in town. It was a cancer cook-off we had here, and that was my first major GC. And the rest of them were, the other ones before that were, 25, 30 teams. It was kind of like, the smaller cook-offs. They were qualified and stuff, but this one here was 78 teams. And I mean, it was full of the West Texas heavy hitters. I mean, like those guys that have won World Food Championships, the guys that were like, kicking ass all over the place, KCBS, Texas barbecue. And so I got that one win. And so they gave me the declaration. So when you get a state championship, you get the declaration, the paperwork from the state of, from the governor's office. And it says, this is a decorated state championship paperwork. And they framed it for me and put that as a trophy for GC. And so I have that on my wall in my office. And that's kind of where that right there was one of my first major wins. And then, of course, getting that paperwork was like a huge thing for me because it was really nice to have, but nobody gives those out. Nobody lets you have those paperwork.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of my first unique, memorable wins. If I was to sit here and think about it off the top of my head real quick.
Nice. Nicholas, what's happening? Jen Lee, darling, how are you? Daddy Dutch, first brisket San Antonio rodeo? That's I guess that's the question.
I cooked a chunk of meat. It was that day. It was pretty good. Is Rob still on the show?
He was watching. He didn't comment anything.
He was checking it out. So that we had San Antonio rodeo. It was 288 teams. And I got reserve grand. I had the first place brisket. Yeah, that was a good brisket. Rob had a first. I think he had a first rib, and Jeremy Cortez had a first chicken. So that was a pretty memorable moment. I was picking people up like they were babies and just shaking them, because I was pretty excited. I mean, it was a memorable moment. There's a story that goes along with that and all that. It gets pretty intense. But I just about gave up on the whole rodeo scene that night when at second place brisket. So pretty much told them to fuck off. I wasn't ever coming back. and then I hit first place. So it's kind of shut me up and spiked my beer and went to the front. I started bulldozing people, man. I was like, you just couldn't get through the crowd, man. It's like trying to get through NASCAR from the top of the stadium down to the fence line. You're just not going to make it. So I just lowered my head, dropped my shoulder like I was playing football again, and went through there and started tossing people.
All right. We got a great question from Nick Disco Brisket. I didn't have the opportunity to meet him at the Granite State Championship. I'm hoping I get to meet him in August at the Cora Cares cook-off. Being in high school himself, do you have any advice to him? He's the youngest cooker on our circuit right now.
Okay. So he's on the. I mean, he's cooking regular competitions. You mean?
Oh, he's cooking full blown KCBS Master Series and also backyard events. Whatever we have in the area.
So his question is, what's the best advice I can give a high school kid?
Yeah, he's still in high school himself.
Okay. Listen to the guys. Don't be afraid to walk up to anybody and listen to what they have to say. You ain't got to say a word, because sometimes, the old saying, it's better to remain silent than open your mouth and remove all doubt. So sometimes you just want to walk up and just introduce yourself. Tell them, hey, I'm cooking. I'm a high school student. I'm cooking, and people will eat that up, man. They will start pouring knowledge out to you, not just giving you tips and tricks, but if you just listen to what they have to say and just kind of hang out, you'll hear a lot of stuff that you can take back with you. And they might ask you a question, or they might ask you what you like cooking, but if you can walk up to the larger competitions, to the guys that are just hanging out talking, introduce yourself. Don't do a whole lot of speaking. Just say, hey, I just want to meet you guys and, hang out for a minute. And if you just listen, just shut up and listen, you will pick up more tidbits of information on what guys are doing than if you try to ask questions. Because when you ask questions, they'll blow you off, or they'll lowball you some stupid answer. But if you just sit back and listen, you will understand what they're talking about, and maybe look around, you'll see products out on the tables or whatever. And then you pull somebody aside and say, hey, man, I heard you saying about this. I'm kind of new to this. I'm really trying to learn. And they will give you that information, maybe one-on-one versus in a group, because they don't want to give all their secrets away. But if you'll just sit back and listen, introduce yourself, and don't be scared to do it, you'll get a lot of tricks, a lot of tips that you weren't expecting to get.
Beautiful. And even I'll admit, I still do it to this day. Watching the different shows, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I got what I use my sauce combination. I got off of Slow Smoke and Gooder Show. There was a guest on. I'm not gonna say when, but he gave a tip. He goes, try this, and this. 2 parts this, 1 part that, 1 part that. It's like, okay, it played around a little bit, and it was phenomenal. But it was just paying attention, listening to what everybody was saying. And I'm like, okay, I have that, and holy shit, I also have that. Okay, mix it up, and away we go. And it was beautiful. But like you said, if you just pay attention and You know, I'm going to be 45 years old, and I still shut my mouth and just
Yeah, you
take
just gotta
it
shut up and
all
listen.
in.
That was some of the best advice I was given from one of the guys that cooks here locally. And he just said, Aaron, man, just shut up and listen. You know? So when I went to San Antonio Rodeo, it's the largest cook-off in the state as of right now. But a friend of mine won that. He got reserve grand on Friday night, JD Henley, Buckshot Barbecue. He got reserve grand on Friday night and G-seated on Saturday night. So we're all going up there, which is hard. It's kind of like the American Royal when, you know, the old boy, he won GC both days back to back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that usually happens, right? You might go back 2 years in a row and have 2 good years, but you might not. If there's a double like that on a big contest, you might not have a reserve on one night and a grand on the next. So, you know, I sat back and I listened and I just watched all these cookers come up to him and ask him question after question after question. Now, granted, he just won like the biggest cook-off in the state, and they're trying to get all these questions out of him, like, you know. And I felt bad for JD because I was like, damn, man, you know, these guys are coming to you, and now I know how you feel when us smaller cooks come up here and ask you questions. You just got a GC, so why can't you celebrate? Why can't we have tequila shots, have a few beers, hoot and holler, you know, throw a bunch of hell yeahs out there and be done? Instead, there was 15 or 20 guys asking him about chicken, asking him about ribs. And so he's trying to answer, but he's not a very talkative guy like that.
Yeah.
So I felt bad. You have to kind of run him off. So sometimes you just got to be quiet, sit back, and you'll hear some things instead of just coming out straight up and just asking a ton of questions.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, Rob's in the chat now. Okay.
But that's one thing I love about Rob's show is it gets really detailed sometimes, and it's very open.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the word, right? Because the language is open, the dialogue is open, and so out of one thing about all the different shows that I've listened to is that the interaction, it gets to where you can get some really good live commentary, like instructional stuff on his show, because most guys are willing to open up and just say one thing, you know. And that if you can get that kind of interaction, then I think that the audience grows on that. And that's one thing I like about it, is it just becomes very, very raw.
Yep, there he is. Shut up and listen.
Shut up and listen.
And you know, you were saying hi to Tom and Bell. So listen, if you are familiar with the So Smoking Good show, I get an opportunity to set it back, Rob.
I'm thinking Rob needs to contact you as a co-host.
We have talked about it, and I already have the guest lined up to jump.
Well, guess what? I'm going to make it happen for you. Rob, get it done.
And so if Rob's going to take it on the other side here, Tom Ball VFW, drink. If you know, drink. You know.
Salute.
So let's talk your seasonings. You know, you have, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 7 or 8 SKUs of bottles.
Yeah. I've got so we've got 6 seasonings, and then there's we have an MSG called Triple X. I got that name off of the Wile E. Coyote, the Roadrunner show, you know, back when we was kids. And so there was always a stick of dynamite, and it was an explosion, you know. So it was that Triple X. It was always had 3 X's on it. It was always the explosion of flavor. So I have the MSG. It's corn based. It's real fine. Does a great job on getting in the cracks and kind of keeping that flavor in there. Then I have the phosphates, the Jack. I've had the Jack phosphates out for about a year on the website. I've been using them since 2018, but I just put the label on it finally. It's called Jack, and we stuck that out there. And we just got that in this past week, and it's on the website now. So I've got 6 seasonings. I got the Oil Dust, the Black Gold, the Barnyard Pimp, the Piggy Bank, the Zesty Garlic, and the Wildcatter. And then we have the phosphates and the MSG, and then we have our barbecue sauce in 3 injections.
Beautiful. And now that leads to Big Rome's question. How'd you come up with the names of some of them? You know, Barnyard Pimp and, you know, Cow, you know, all that good stuff.
So there's two things that we are in West Texas, and we're oil field and we're ranchers. I day worked cattle growing up from high school, So I mean, we had horses, we worked cattle ranches, we got paid, we worked the sale barns, and so everything we do is oil field related and try to be as rancher cowboy related as possible. So, like for instance, the oil dust. Okay, so that spawned off of the steak seasoning. When I first started, it was just what I used it on with steaks. Right, I told you I was catering 500 a week, so. We changed the name from Texas Oil Dust Steak Season just to Oil Dust All Purpose. And when we did that, it put that rub into a whole other classification. People don't think outside the box, right? So they think steak season. Oh, it's only for steaks. Well, it's the same rub you can put on a brisket or a chicken or, some rack of ribs, whatever. So Barnyard Pimp, I had a tool pusher at a rig one day. He said, yeah, I call this the old Barnyard Pimp recipe. And I said, oh, okay, what do you got? And so he said, you take a chicken, you put it on the grill, you drink a beer. When that beer is gone, you flip the chicken, drink another beer. And so it just kept going off of then you flip back over after that, you drink 2 beers. And then you sauce it, you drink another 2 beers. And then it's done. I was like, okay, that's an hour's worth of cooking. Yeah, I got you. So one day I sat there one night and I thought, my chicken rub, I don't know what to call it yet, Barnyard Pimp. And so I called that pusher up and said, hey, I'm gonna use that name. Are you cool with that? And he goes, man, that'd be great. So that's where that name came from. And that's back like 13, I guess. And then maybe 12. But Calcutta, so there's a comp, when you go to cook-off, you have where you bet against yourself to win, right? Mm-hmm. So you can pay $50 or it's a running Calcutta where CALCUTTA. So we were winning Calcuttas all the time, and we were sitting here at the bar one night. We have a bar that we go to here in town, all of us barbecue guys go to on Wednesday nights, and we were sitting there, and I was like, man, I said, I won the Calcutta, and he said, Calcutta, and I was like, yeah, what is that? It's COWCUTTA. I was like, no, but I like it. And then my wife and I started talking, and she's like, Calcutta, and then that's where the beef injection came from, because I had just won first place brisket. I won like $1,600 on the Calcutta, so that's where that name came from. It just happenstance sometimes, and sometimes it's like you think about it too hard. Sometimes it just shows up, I mean, it's somebody told one day on the phosphates, it's like, hey, I'm fixing to jack this brisket up, and I rode with it. I said, I like the name. Let's call it Jack. And it's just little stuff. And sometimes it's like, you have a name for it and you want to bring it out there. But oil and gas, rancher related. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not.
There you go. Now you do a lot of work with Midland Meat. And you are currently the pit master at the restaurant side of Midland Meat Company.
That's correct.
So how does that run with, obviously running the restaurant and, cooking, being the pit master, and jive with the competition circuits?
Well, I tell you, when I met John Scarborough at Midland Meat Company back in 2015, he was my second client to pick up my oil dust, my first season. That's the same weekend I won that cook-off I was telling you about, that has 78 teams. So he sold that case. He bought 1 case of rub. He said, just let me have 1. I'll just put it out there. Well, that was on a Friday afternoon at like 2:00. And on Monday morning, he texted me, said, I need 10 cases. I done sold out. So over some time, he and I developed a friendship, and he's like a brother to me. And so we're talking and we're doing things. And he's like, man, he said, can you cater for me? I was like, yeah, I can cater this for you. And he would set up catering jobs and I'd handle everything. And so I had my catering trailer. I did big stuff. I set up behind his store. I sold barbecue 3 days a week. I competed on Friday. I leave for Friday. And I had a separate trailer. So I had my catering trailer, then I had a separate trailer for competitions. And so with John, he's like, look, man, I want you to cook my meat exclusively. You can have anything from tip to tail, horn to heel. Just don't cook the steaks unless we have a catering job we need to, right? Those are because everybody knows ribeyes and T-bones and porterhouses and fillets. That's the money maker on the cattle, right? So when you sit here and you do this, and he says, but you can cook anything you want as long as you leave the steaks alone. So you have this whole carcass to mess with. And so we started doing that, and that turned into something kind of big. And then as the catering business, we got an outdoor venue. It was just all outdoor seating. it was just a way for us to find out, can we do a restaurant style, can we work with a Wagyu setting, because they raise their own Wagyu beef in a restaurant style setting. And it allowed us to cook all those cuts of meat that wasn't being sold. And that's how it kind of spawned into the restaurant of the half acre. And so fast forward, I've been competing every Friday and weekend, and we've had a great crew of people, and we've got a great restaurant staff. And so it allows me to be able to leave and support Texas Oil Dust, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday, and run and be at the restaurant, Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever that my schedule has to be. So we got a great staff. The recipes are all mine. We run our Texas Oil Dust seasonings in there. We have blends that we mix and make, and that just kind of helps tie in the whole restaurant side with the competition side. And then I'm constantly, if I want to try something new, I can try a profile. Of course, we don't inject or nothing, but I can try a new rub seasoning combo, or I can try something on the ribs, or try something new. But cooking at the restaurant makes you very consistent. The briskets come off at a certain time. There's a certain feel. The ribs have a certain feel. The sausage you see in my background photo, we make. I was making so much sauce a week, I didn't have time to finish it up sometimes. And of course, that's a bad idea, because the stuff inside the sausage, it would eat it up, But I mean, it's just it's one of those things that allows me to still have a good paycheck and a good job, but still support the company. And John Scarborough is also one of my business partners. He is my business partner in Texas Oil Dust. So it benefits us both as the company grows. So it's a whole circle, and so you couldn't ask for a better friend and a better person to work for. But like you said, don't think of me as a boss. I'm just a partner. I'm just a friend. You do what you got to do. You run your regiment, you run your things, and you take off, and you support this, and we'll and the rest of it will follow suit. So it's a great environment to be in, but it's very tiring. 7 days a week is very tiring.
Yeah. Junior, what's happening? Big Kano, what's up? So when we had spoken earlier, Aaron, like I said, it goes quick. So before we run out of time, I already told you where we're going to go, but when a member of our barbecue family is in need or has situations come up in their lives, we all come running. There is a cook-off in the works, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there's a date yet, but your grandson was diagnosed with a disease, and this is a fundraiser for everything for him so he can go get the treatment he needs. Tell us about that to finish this up.
Yeah, so Cal Callahan was diagnosed with AGS7. There is I don't remember how many numbers it is. I think there's 9 stages of AGS itself. 1 through I think 5 is like the more common, the more common every day, when the kids are stuck in wheelchairs and can't move, or there's different bodily function they don't have. But number 6 and then number 7 is like the most rare. There's only 5 other kids in the United States that have number 7. So the amount of information on there is not very fluent, right? There's not a whole lot of information out there, but there's only one hospital in the United States that even works with this type of illness, and it's in Pennsylvania. So I don't know the name of the hospital. So we just opened up the 501(c). We just got a Facebook page today. We're working on the link for signing up for the cook-off, but August 4th and 5th, we're having a Champions Barbecue Society Legion Alliance cook-off, 4 meats: brisket, ribs, chicken, pork. We're doing a chef choice for the adults, and we're doing a chef choice for the kids, and then we're doing a bean contest. So we'll have trophies for everybody, top 10, and then it'll be a buckles, because buckles never get old. That's one of my sayings. So we'll have buckles for all the first place people. We'll have good trophies. I got some great folks helping me out of the barbecue store, and Tom and Bill Clark, and those guys are helping design up some really badass trophies, and we're getting a lot of support for it. But we're trying to help raise awareness, and at the same time help grow the funds to support my family as they make these trips back and forth to Pennsylvania, because we know it's not cheap to fly, and it's going to take a lot of time and money, and so my daughter's a school teacher, and she stopped teaching to take care of him, and that's what she does. She trains, and they go to rehab every day he can run and walk in a walker, but he leans forward on the walker because he don't have the muscle structure to hold his body up, right? So there's a lot of things that I'm still learning about this issue and this one illness, but that's what we're trying to do is we're calling all the barbecue guys. We've AutoCAD'd the parking lot. We get about 78 teams in there, plus or minus, depending on how big your campsite is. So we're just trying to see if we can't get this first year off the ground, and make it big and try to give back to the cooks because everyone's coming from a lot of places. So if you can't make the cook-off and you want to donate, that's awesome. I appreciate that. But if you can come out and cook, just being there to cook is more support than a dollar bill or $10 or $20. It's not the money part of it for the barbecue family, for my barbecue family. It's the support that they're willing to come here to Midland, drive 6, 8, 10 hours and come support this cook-off. That's bigger support for me than you could do anything else. So I'm hoping to see everybody, and the support is awesome. The feedback is great. A lot of cookers say they want to come and hang out and come cook, but it's going to be a good event, and I just want to raise that bar high for him so that he gets the care that he needs.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So keep an eye out for all the information on the Texas Oil Dust platforms. And whenever I get some information, I'll share it out on all the Pit Life stuff.
I appreciate that, man.
And everything
Cooking for
else.
Cowboy. That's the name of the Facebook page. Cooking COOKIN for CALBOY. So I just shared it today on both of my platforms, we just started it. So it's kind of new. So there's not a whole lot of information, but we're going to start hammering it down pretty quick and getting it out there.
Awesome, brother. Well, bro, I thank you so much for the time for taking up. We'll definitely do it again. This has been a blast, and we didn't even cover some of the stuff, but there's more to it. There was a hashtag spam, something we didn't even get into. It's your secret shrimp recipe. Hashtag
my spam and crackers.
Hashtag spam and crackers. That's the one. Yeah.
Who's wanting that recipe? Oh, hold on a minute now. We want to start kicking people off the show.
That's right, dude. I did some research. But, man, thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much for taking the time, brother. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, bud.
Yeah. All right. Hang on 1 second. We'll close this out. I'll jump back with you real quick. Awesome, Chrissy.
Another great show.
Another great show. Tremendous guy. Full of knowledge. Just as in all of these guys. And, and I appreciate each one of them for taking the time. But, man, once again, it goes quick.
It does.
Well, that's it for this week, folks. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. Catch the video on Facebook and YouTube, the audio, wherever podcasts are found. YouTube, hit the subscribe button and notification bell. You have all the episodes right at your fingertips. Social media, find all the links down below. Questions and comments, please send them to pitlifebbqpodcast@gmail.com. Like always, subscribe, rate, and review. Next week, Anthony from Tiger McCool Barbecue Company is joining me to talk all fire cups. If you know, you know. And until next week, keep the smoke rolling.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21, Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.